Well, good morning, Taylor. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I continually laugh at like your illness.
That's okay. I fully understand. I am sick. Yesterday was bad, Pete. Yesterday was so bad. Like the whole day I was in bed and my head was throbbing, but it was throbbing like behind my eyes and all down. Like my sinus was just full of pressure.
You could feel your pulse in your face.
Yes, it was very uncomfortable. I tried. I even was like, I could work yesterday. I was like, I could work today. That was incorrect. I spent the first, oh man, 5 hours of the day awake in bed without moving. It was pretty rough. But hey, I'm here today.
Yeah. I'm glad to see you.
That's what counts.
Yeah, your beard seems a little whiter today.
Yes, I haven't had a chance to color it with my normal colorings.
I think I've seen you in a commercial with those little tiny combs that brushed around your face.
Yes.
One of the weirdest things, I'd never identified as like a redhead, but my beard came in bright red. And I had this long beard, and I was flying in an airport, and I was behind two other redheads. And by the time the ticket checker guy got to me, he goes, "What is this? A ginger convention?" And he looked at me, and I was like, "What? A ginger convention?" And I realized that like I was bald and had this big red beard. I was like, "Wow!" For the first time in my life, I was identified as a redhead, even though I technically have had brown hair.
Yeah, now you have no hair.
I have no hair and a red beard, so that's all I got.
Yeah, well, that's good. Redbeard is good.
Yeah.
Good pirate name.
I liked it a lot. Redbeard is what? Band name?
A good pirate name.
Oh yeah, right. Yep.
You would be a terrible pirate, though, Pete. You would be like, that's right. Jar, it appears you be sad. Might I help you with that?
Do not be scared. Just jump into the water.
Right. We will support you emotionally after we get you out.
Well, it's true. I think pirate attacks are the number one cause for depression and anxiety on the high seas.
That's true.
Yeah, we should be aware of that. I need to make a sticker and pass it around.
Watch out for pirates. All right. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Well, what else are you here for, Taylor?
Man, I'm here because that's a good question. What am I here for? I am here to provide for my family. I'm here to dude, I'm so tired and out of it. I don't know what I'm here for. I'm floating right now. I'm
That's
just like
right.
blah blah blah.
Well, I'm
blah.
glad you started off with some somber answers. I think part of the tone of this podcast is that we answer honestly those questions that people don't usually answer honestly. And we talked
Yeah.
about the American, like, how are you doing? And like the quick answer is fine. But like we here, we probably try to swing the other way to that extreme to where we will actually answer. Like, how are you doing today? I am at 45%. Like, you need to really answer sometimes. So
That's true.
I don't honestly talk this way in my day to day, but here on the podcast, I'll what we call it, like radical honesty, something like that.
That means I get the best out of you. Do you know what my body battery right now at 9 in the morning is?
Everybody in the comments, put your guesses. Taylor's body battery right now. He's sick. He was sick yesterday. He was in bed all day though. That could help. Okay, but he's getting over sickness. I'm gonna say 32.
37. Very impressive.
Woo! Hot diggity. I would have won anything.
Yeah. That's true.
Should have put money on that.
You wouldn't have gotten any.
Yeah, we're just talking about household projects that Taylor has to fund.
Yes, I've got a foundation issue. I've got a potential pipe issue that it's a city pipe, hopefully, that they're going to take care of. And, just like an easy $20,000 to $30,000, I'm going to have to figure out how to get the money for it. Be nice if I had $20,000 or $30,000.
Yeah. In our last episode, we were talking about the lived experience of being a therapist. Money is a very real part of that. Keep that in mind.
That's true.
Either you work for an insurance company and you say you're independent in private practice, but if you're on the panel for an insurance company, they dictate the rates, they dictate a lot of stuff, what counts as what diagnosis you have to justify. And so you're basically working for an insurance company, which really, really is difficult. And Or you go completely into private practice and you charge whatever you want and risk,
People not paying it.
yeah, just risk people not doing it so you don't get paid. Then you have
Yeah,
to
it's
send them
a
to
fun
collections,
balance.
being a kind and empathetic, caring therapist and sending someone to collections.
It's sending someone to break their knees.
Yeah,
Where's my
yeah,
money?
yeah. No, Tony, I got it. I swear. Taylor says you ain't paid.
Redbeard says you owe him money plus interest. Where's my money, Philly? Yeah.
Oh man,
Well, this is
Italian
maybe
pirate's the best.
an Italian part.
Italian
Hey,
pirate.
yo, I think these high seas are calling my name there, Vinny.
Vinny likes the taste of the water spraying up
What is
into his
that, gold?
face.
I could take some of that gold there. Give me that gabagool.
Get out of my teeth.
Yes. Yes, the Sopranos of the high seas.
It sounds like a
That'd be a lot of
crappy
fun.
opera.
Look at the ducks, they fly away, which is a joke you won't get unless you've seen the TV show. But
I'm
that's a
sorry.
solid reference right there.
Awesome.
Well, this actually kind of does flow into today's episode. We're talking about humility and the difference between humility and self-deprecation, which, you know, humbly speaking, the truth is, what is humility?
Yeah, that's a really important place to start. What is
Yeah.
humility? We have inspiration. We have some quotes that like really hit things on the head, and I think I had some technical aspects of humility. So I think we have these anecdotal, personal understandings of humility, and then when you're doing
Hmm.
research, you have to define it pretty well. Um, so why don't we start with the anecdotal, personal understandings of humility? Well, my understanding of humility, I tied it in with fear. A lot of people, I worked a lot with trauma. I still research now trauma, but I used to work a lot with clients with trauma, and so a theme that came up a lot was fear, being afraid, and you have naturally very strong people who now live in fear, and so my go-to line was, "There is no courage without fear," and in the same way, you have to have fear in order to be courageous. Otherwise, you're just doing something.
Hmm.
In the same way, in order to be humble, you have to know that you have status and you have power. Now that's touchy because every human being has status by virtue of being alive. So humility means not imposing your human status above another's. So you have status, you have value, and you don't force it. You don't put it over someone else. uh, You just know that your status is what it is. The same way, the fear is what it is. You don't try to fight it. You don't say, I don't have fear or whatever. I'm going to be courageous. The same way you can say, I have status, I am valuable, but I just acknowledge that and set it aside.
It's
Yeah.
interesting that from the get-go, you're saying that humility is an acknowledgement of status, which I think a lot of people, certainly the culture I grew up in, very religious conservative folks, would argue that humility is the opposite of that. I have no status. I am nothing. This self-deprecation, which is a part of why I think we wanted to talk about this,
Yeah. Yeah.
that it's
Absolutely.
possible to have self-value and humility at the same time.
Yep. I hear that a lot. I don't know if I grew up that way, but I'd seen that to where you say, wow, that person is very humble. They're in humble situations. They came from humble beginnings. They're humble, meaning that they think poorly of themselves, or they came from low status. Um,
Yeah.
but really, the most humble people I've met have been the most intelligent, the most accomplished, and the most capable people. And I
Hmm.
know that, and I see them that way, and they don't push it. They don't mention it. They don't reflect it. I mean, back at me or whatever. It's just I have
Hmm.
that in my mind of like I'm so lucky to talk to these people or to be associated with this person, and um, they just almost take it for granted. They just I'm a person. They're talking to me, and anyway, it's hard to
Yeah.
define the experience of
Well,
talking to a high power, high status person who is humble. It's kind of hard to talk about.
yeah. What's interesting to me is I'm willing to bet that those people know that they are intelligent and capable and all these things, and that is not the antithesis of humility, right?
Right.
An acknowledgement of self value is not getting rid of any humble bone in your body. I think what you said though is that, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I'm so lucky to talk to these people. And they're like, why? I'm a person.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
humility, right? The acknowledgement that like, yeah, I do have these things, but that doesn't make me more valuable of a human being. It might make them more valuable within certain situations and contexts, but the reality is they're just a person doing their person stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like they just moved along with life and they did their person stuff through the years, and at a certain point I hitched up to them after they had done all that stuff, and they're like, "Well, it's okay. Like after so many years you'll have done stuff too. You and I were the same." That kind of thing. It's just
Yeah.
you happen to see me at this point in my life and I see you in this point of your life.
Yeah, that's very true. I think about the people in my life who I look up to who are contemporary ish, meaning like we're kind of the same age ish, like
Mhm.
Jihad. I look up to Jihad quite a bit. Um, but I also acknowledge that like he's just in a different place in his life, and the things that he's accomplished are because of who he is and not because I'm incapable of accomplishment myself and all this stuff. Pete, you're another great example of this. One of the consistent feedbacks every time I talk to my dad and he talks about the podcast, he's like, the one thing that is so abundantly clear is you're both super smart. And I'm like, well, that's very kind of you to say about me. And I fully agree about Pete. Pete is stupid smart.
Nice of you to say about me.
That's
That's
the
funny.
truth.
Who said that?
My dad.
Sweet. I'll take him off the list.
He'll be very relieved, I'm sure.
Yeah, here's a whiteboard next to my desk.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Redbeard comes not for Leon McCary. Yar.
Oh, Leon? Holy crap.
Well, so this is
He wears linen
fun.
shirts and has like
my,
something on the Riviera.
my dad is a 6'8" white guy from Utah, and he has the most black man name I've ever heard in my life. His name is Leon Cordell McCary. So
Uh,
that's fun.
well, nice of him to say that. I
Yes.
remember one person I really looked up to in terms, not in terms of intelligence or necessarily accomplishments, but in his capability to see people.
Mm.
And like you'd look me in the eyes and be like, Pete, I can just tell something about you. And it wasn't in a car salesman way. It was like we were saying goodbye after a while. And I remember just being so touched that he was like, "Okay, see you later." But I want to say, there's something about you deep
A
down. I mean, I
murderous rage.
just see it. Yeah, no, not murderous rage. It was something positive. I remember, but just being so touched by him and thinking, "What you're the nice guy. How the heck are you seeing that in me?" And I was just blown away because he was the one who had done things and he was saying things about me. It was
Mm.
very touching. Um, but in any case, it doesn't mean that you deny those things in yourself when you're saying
Yeah.
that about someone else. My mom once said to me, if someone gives you a compliment, you don't say, "No, I'm not." You don't say, "I know." You just say, "Thank you."
Thank you. That is the correct answer.
Yeah.
But there's a quote that I use with my clients a lot that I think about a lot. It's humility is just seeing things exactly as they are, and I always kind of attributed that to a guy named Spencer W. Kimball. But I actually looked it up, and I cannot find any evidence he ever said or wrote that, which is crazy to me.
Oh,
I still like the definition, though. I mean, it's humility is it just is what it is. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. It's just it is what it is. Humbly speaking, I'm a successful therapist. Humbly speaking, Pete, you are a successful therapist. That doesn't make us better than anybody else. It doesn't make us worse than anybody else, right? It just is what it is, humbly speaking. And the actual quote that I did find is, "If men are really humble, they will realize that they discover but do not create truth." And that's an interesting way of looking at that. Like
ooh, they
I'm not
discover they
I'm not
don't
making
create
this
truth.
true. Yeah.
Yes, and you've that kind of goes into that reminds me of what you had said about being loud doesn't make you right, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you want to be a purveyor of truth, that means you're going to have to discover it. You're going to have to do some work. It's not that you bang on the desk.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Truth does not need to be loud to be right.
yeah. What do lawyers say? If you have the law on your side, you hit the law. If you have evidence on your side, you hit the evidence. And if you have nothing on your side, you hit the table.
That seems pretty true.
I'm gonna refer to the academic definition of um, humility, and this is
Okay.
from um, 2013, and I want to see if I can interpret it. I'm just going to read the academic thing and then try to translate it. an
Okay.
interpersonal characteristic that emerges in social contexts and entails one, a willingness to view oneself accurately, two, an
Mm.
appreciation for others' strengths and contributions, and three, teachability. So,
All right. Can you synthesize that down into
synthesize.
a tailored version?
You're aware of yourself, um, you're aware of others, and you're willing to learn more.
It's an interesting way of putting it. So humility is curiosity.
Yeah, curiosity. It's not denial necessarily. Um, You know,
Mm.
I hate to bring more pop culture into this, but this is just really interesting. It's a really cool segue. My wife showed me this feminist view of K-pop Demon Hunters, and it was a feminist analysis of the movie K-pop Demon Hunters,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady loved it, loved the movie for its feminist implications, not
Mm-hmm.
because the K-pop Demon Hunters were man haters or that they were inherently stronger than everybody else. In fact, when the antagonists showed up, the Saja boys, they started to dance with them. They were tempted by, they were good. Like the boys were good. And they were like, they didn't crap on them. They didn't make them look like idiots like Fred Flintstone, who's just like, blah, 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 and make them look like
Mm-hmm.
morons. And she referred to other feminist movies like Captain Marvel, who like had no character arc. She was awesome at the end, and the only obstacle she had to overcome was to remember that she had always been awesome. Like she was an
Mm.
incredible person, pilot. She lost her memory, and then she became an incredible god, and then had to remember how incredible she was before. It was just like there was nothing, no movement, and it made the boys and the men in like She-Hulk look like morons in order to make the women look good. But
Mm-hmm.
in K-pop Demon Hunters, it did none of that. They recognized that they are strong and they were awesome. They were like coming together as a team, independent of anything else. They recognized the awesomeness of everyone else around them, and they were teachable. Like it was like the humility in this feminism was empowering, and it was really cool analysis to see where it wasn't just insulting everyone around you to make yourself look good. It was an honest appraisal of how awesome you are. It was great.
Yeah. And
That
it kind of
that's
makes me
humility.
think that, yeah, true power isn't afraid of other people's power on an interpersonal level, right? Obviously, if we're talking about governmental power, there's, you know, I have nuclear arms. I have nuclear arms. Okay, well, I'm afraid of your nuclear weapons. That's different, right? But I'm talking like on an individual level. Me and Pete have different power. Pete is very good at some things that I'm not, and I'm very good at some things Pete is not. And that's the power in Pete is not afraid in the power in Taylor and vice versa. Because there's nothing to be afraid of because we both have power. What's the big deal? I don't need Pete to look bad for me to look good.
Yes. There is, then what powers should we be afraid of? Because there are intimidating people when you come into, should we ever be intimidated by meeting somebody who is very powerful? What kind of powers should we be intimidated by? Maybe that's what
That's an
makes
interesting question.
maybe that's what makes them have the opportunity to be more humble. When I approach somebody I deeply respect, and if they call me a moron, I would have to be like, well, compared to you, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. That's true, and it'd be hurtful. But when they don't do that and they compliment me and they support me, it shows their humility even more. Now,
Hey, yeah.
so you come in, I do come into the realm of powerful people, people who are more powerful than me and have higher status than me.
Can
Should
you
I
define
ever be?
what you mean by that? What is
Oh,
more power?
well, when we talk about interpersonal power, I think that you're basically referring to the power of being a human. Like I would just meet on the street. We're both waiting for the bus. We end up talking. I'm not intimidated. I don't care that you're a high stakes investor. Like that's a pretty cool job. Whatever. But when I am, see, if I go to work and I'm a whatever rank I am. Let's say I started as a second lieutenant, and the group commander, a colonel, calls me into his office to talk. I'm going to be intimidated. There's a reputation wrapped up in that. There's expectations wrapped up in that. It's because our maybe it's because our worlds are the same. There's an expectation.
Hmm.
So
And how
I
much that do you think comes from a fear that that power will be used against you?
yes, yeah, that's probably if I don't do the right thing, then that person's power could influence me. They definitely because we're in the
Mm.
same world. This investor at the bus stop, he and I, he and I don't. I don't know if he could affect my life. I'm not threatened by his power. There's some
Yeah.
distance between us.
It's interesting. I don't like working for other people because I don't like people having that kind of power over me. I've
I
never
see.
liked it. It's always been a real problem. I don't like the idea of someone being able to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong just because they wouldn't do it that way. That super rubs me the wrong way. I don't know where to go with that, but
No, no. I
it's
mean,
just
yeah. I mean, that's one way to deal with it. You distance yourself from anyone who has professional, financial, um, that kind of power. Is
I don't
there?
know that I'd say I distance myself so much as I just claim the power for myself. If I'm going to succeed, I'm going to succeed because I made myself succeed. And if I'm going to fail, at least it's mine.
Mm,
Not because Joe Blow over there said, well, actually, you should be doing this. No, no, I disagree with that. I think what I'm doing is just fine.
I never thought about that. Using that power, someone else's power will then explain some of my failure. Is that an umbrella for why I would stay in a job working for somebody? Because they're a bad boss. That's why I didn't do well. That kind of thing.
That's an interesting thought. I don't know that I would have ever thought about it that way because that makes it sound like you're trying to avoid responsibility, which is not humility, right? Like it's not my fault this happened because that person over there didn't like it. I think maybe this is one of my shortcomings. I have a lot of confidence in who I am and what I can do, which is why when things don't work out, it bothers me so much because I'm no, like this, the thing is good. And I try to be open to being wrong about that. I think that's a different conversation. Well, this leads into an interesting question. Like, so what is the function of humility is kind of one half of this. The other half of this is like, we have power. Why,
Yeah.
what do we do with our power? People seem to be afraid of having it. It's kind of looked down on in certain circles. Like if you have power, you're going to abuse it. Seems to be a common popular way of approaching power.
Oh,
So how do,
this is great.
yeah, go ahead.
The in the third academic variable of humility, it was being teachable. And for me, humility. This sounds really prideful, but for me, that definition of humility at the end of that huge failure was salvation. It was the
Mm.
resilience to help me bounce back to say, I am not a horrible therapist. I made a mistake. And then analyzing the mistake and be like, I will never do that again. Even though
Wait,
I
why
made,
would that not be, why is that prideful?
I'll say like, I have this, I have so much humility that it saved me from despair. So,
It's like my
but just,
grandpa. I think I've said this before. My grandpa's like the best part of being a canon because my grandpa's maiden or his name is Cannon. My mom's dad.
oh, yeah.
The best part of being a canon is how humble we are.
So proud of his humility.
Yeah, he said
Yeah.
one time a guy stopped him on the street and was like, "Hey, I challenge you to a humble off." And my grandpa's like, "Fine." He's like, "I killed him. I way out humbled him."
What?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I told my dad that. My dad laughed. He's like, "Yep, those cannons are so proud of how humble they are." And he wasn't joking.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah,
Anyway, coming from the coal mines or wherever they came from.
yeah.
Anyway, uh, being teachable out of that was I know that I'm not a horrible therapist because of these other indicators that I can do pretty good work. And
Hmm.
also knowing that my bosses are not completely incompetent. So they probably had a good reason to fire me and being teachable. So this is a mistake. How can I be a good therapist and made this bad a mistake?
Yeah.
Well,
How do you take the truth that you're good and the truth that they are good and synthesize a positive
yes,
outcome?
exactly. Bring it's,
Yes.
death rattle. That word.
I gotta have the catchphrase.
Yeah, every
Catchphrase.
episode synthesis will get in there. But in any case, I think humility for me, the function of humility was recovery. It was resilience. It was it was this optimism I had that I'm not a completely worthless therapist, even though I made a mistake. And I can do a
Mhm.
lot of good and potentially some bad, but probably a lot more good than bad. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
function of humility for me.
Yeah.
Keeps me going.
Is having power antithetical to being humble?
Having power. I think like status and power. There's one paper I read where they differentiate status and power, but in my mind, they're kind of synonymous. So I think you can't have humility without having status and power.
Hmm.
Um, so no, I don't think it's antithetical.
Well, I wonder if we can delineate between humility and self-deprecation then,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, because I feel like people will take humility and say, I'm going to be humble by just downplaying everything I've ever done. It's not that big of a deal. Like, let's say the guys in Armageddon come back to Earth and like, what did you do? Like, well, we blew up the asteroid and saved the world, but it wasn't that big of a deal because, whatever. No, that's a pretty big deal. Pete, you're going to have a doctorate in a couple years. And like, you know, it might not mean that you're better than anybody else, but that doesn't mean it's not a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, how do I be proud of my accomplishments, proud of what I'm doing, and I and still look at everyone else the same way?
Yeah. When it's funny you say that just because the way you phrase it makes it sound like it would be hard, but I know you well enough to know that the answer is it's just super easy. Nothing changes.
No, no. I want to be proud of myself and I want to be proud of everyone else. Just everything,
Ooh.
a lot of goodness going on, and I don't want to betray the goodness um of others by me doing good.
It sounds like then humility includes gratitude as well as curiosity. I'm
Grant.
grateful for the things that I've done. I'm grateful for the goodness in other people. And I'm curious about how much more there is to uncover, right? I mean, we talked about last time, or maybe 2 times ago, my existential training put me in a position where I was like, oh, everybody is beautiful. Everybody has this real beauty to them. And my job, my goal, my joy truly is to uncover that beauty and experience it unfiltered. I love it so much. But that's humility, right? That's
Hmm.
like they have so much to teach me, regardless of where they come from and how they come into my office. They have a lot they can give me, and I have a lot I can give them. And together we synthesize a new way of
Yes.
being. It's really great.
That's what
It's a beautiful thing.
that one guy did to me, who's not a therapist, but he pulls out the goodness that he saw in me and highlighted it, and
Mm-hmm.
didn't downplay his own status or his own power, just highlighted what he saw in me, and it was two good things operating at one time.
Yeah.
Now, I guess the question is then when you see somebody uh, do something better. I had this problem actually when I was in the Air Force starting out as a second lieutenant. I remember quarterly awards coming out, and my natural inclination was like to get really angry that I tried my best and I didn't get it. So this email comes out and they say Lieutenant so and so won it, someone else, and I'm in
Mm-hmm.
the office with another lieutenant. So a third lieutenant won it. Me and him are in the same office, and he's like, "Wow, that's awesome!" And he immediately sits down, writes an email saying, "Hey Tony, congrats on winning the quarterly. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, Lieutenant so and so." And
Mm.
I was so convicted in my conscience of like, "Wow, my reaction is to get upset and angry." And
Mm-hmm.
he had no threat to himself. Someone else won the quarterly award. He was not threatened at all, and he was just
Yeah.
happy for them. And from that moment decided that when someone else wins an award, I congratulate them. I'm happy for them. It doesn't mean
Yes.
it honestly doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't mean I failed. It just means I wasn't selected or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
and that's when we start getting into self-deprecation some people confuse it with a necessary ingredient in humility. And that self-deprecation is what that like, oh no, like what's wrong with me? No, you can be so grateful and happy for other people to succeed without it taking anything from
Mhm.
yourself.
Yes, but the
It,
temptation is then to say, well, who won the quarterly award? Someone asked me who won the quarterly award. I'm like, well, Tony won it because apparently I'm a piece of crap. That sounds so that sounds so personality
no,
disorder-ish.
Pete. You are a piece of crap, but that's not why he won it.
That has nothing to do with it.
They're very separate facts.
It's like he just happened to save the commander's dog from getting run over this quarter. That's all.
Yeah. You're not a piece of crap, and I know that you know I think that, but you're not a piece of crap.
Thanks. Self-deprecation is, I think, a temptation. It's tempting because it explains. It explains why you
Ooh, I'm gonna change that
why
for a different one. It excuses.
ooh. Well, let me go first and then you go.
Go. Yeah.
So explaining
So
means
what I was going to say, but
what someone else stop
why
synthesizing
are you talking
with
over me?
my voice.
I
If
will
someone
shut
else
up.
wins the award, if some other guy's better than me, some guy like got his career on track faster than I did, and now he's been a PhD for 10 years, and I'm just, whatever. I'm changing careers and doing this. Why? Well, it's because I'm indecisive, because I'm obsessed with everything I see and I just go from one thing to the other. because I don't work hard enough or I'm not smart enough. Those all explain like, oh, okay, well, if I suck, that explains why someone else is better than me, which also explains
Mhm.
maybe my resentment, my natural inclination to resent other people's success is because that's saying that I suck, and
Mhm.
that just uh, is more proof that I suck.
Hmm. Interesting. I feel like one, I think about why I didn't get a PhD, and I've always said it's because I don't want to do research. But it always keeps pulling me back as a tempting thing. But one of the things that I tell myself now is like, well, I'm so old. Why would I get a PhD now? If I
Mm.
started a PhD next year, I would be 50 when I finish it. And what's the point of that? Um, oh, that feels really weird to say. But then I talk to you and you're
Yeah.
like, well, of course I'm getting a PhD. Why wouldn't I get a PhD? And you have two master's degree. And like, I look at that and I go, oh, humbly speaking, I want to be able to do that. Pete can do that. I can do that. It's an interesting way that your humility approaching your education inspires me to want to be more educated. Like we're working on a paper together right now that we're trying to get published as an example. I never in my wildest dreams would have tried to think about doing that, but because of who you are, I'm like, oh, maybe I can reach higher like Pete reaches higher. Humbly speaking, you're a very inspirational person to me, Pete. And I'm very
Oh,
grateful for
thanks.
that.
Thank you.
And in terms of self-deprecation, I think that it's a great way to depersonalize things you don't like about yourself too. Like comedy is built on self-deprecation, right? Oh, I'm a piece of garbage. Isn't that funny? And everyone goes, "Oh, you are a piece of garbage," and everyone laughs at it. And like nobody can hurt him or her. Nobody can hurt them because they've already said the part out loud. And how do you hurt somebody for making when you're making fun of it yourself?
Oh, so the self-deprecation is when somebody calls you a dirtbag and you're like, yeah, I know. That's
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
hurt because you already know.
Yeah, you're such a dirtbag. Oh, dude, you have no idea. Let me check this out.
You
And then they're like, "Wait, no, oh, dang it, you took it."
wait till you know me. Does that mean that humility makes you more vulnerable? If you see, well, no,
Hmm.
because I'm saying humility is seeing the goodness in you and you see the goodness in others. But you would say the definition of humility is seeing the things as they are. So you could say, I am mean, I'm unkind to people, and that is as things as they are. If that were true, you're
I'm
just
capable of it. I would say that defining yourself by those actions is always a dangerous game. You're capable of it for
mm,
sure. I would say that to really anybody. I don't think that means it's a defining characteristic of you. Maybe it is. I don't know.
mm, okay. But in any case, if you recognize things as they are, whether it's okay, so you're saying that people are capable of meanness and cruelty and negative things, but humility means recognizing the goodness in yourself and recognize the goodness in others.
Yeah, humbly speaking, that's a part. How big of a part you can humbly say that? Honestly, you said something a moment ago that is feels like a very big question. Does humility protect against vulnerability? And I that kind of caught me off guard because I would say my gut reaction to that is no, it's exposing vulnerability. But then I thought about it for a second. I was like, actually, I kind of feel like it does protect against vulnerability because it makes it not dangerous. Like Pete, we joke about you being bald a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're actually sensitive about it. I really don't. If you were, and I'm so very sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of you for it, but I don't think you're actually sensitive about it. But I can see a world in which somebody would be very sensitive because they are bald.
Uh-huh.
And so, humbly speaking, you're bald. You're like, yeah, I know. And you say, well, now we all know
And
Pete's
that's
bald.
just
Like,
a
yeah, but
thing that is. Yeah.
who cares? Yeah, it's a thing that exists. Like, I have bad posture. Okay, like it's true. What are you gonna make fun of me for the truth? Like, it feels like it makes things less vulnerable to be open and honest about the truth of the situation. What
Okay.
are you gonna make fun of me for? Being honest? Okay.
That's recognizing the truth in yourself. And I say the truth rather than the goodness then. Recognizing the
Hmm.
truth in yourself, and recognizing the truth in other people, how would that open up vulnerability? Um, maybe maybe it's because you start seeing things in people that um, if you're self-deprecating, you wouldn't want to see those things. I would have to
Hmm.
say that the meanest person I ever had supervising me was very effective, and he made the organization work smoother. And I hate saying that because
Hmm.
everybody hated talking to him. I hated associating with him, and yet he made the organization out of fear run just snapped it up, just made it up to, because we all hated talking to him. But that was his
Yeah.
objective, and he didn't care. So I see that in him, the the truth in him that was good.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I would say that let's look at that as, let's like super chop that up and humble, right? The truth is that was effective. It's also true that wasn't necessarily the most effective or the only way that it could have been effective.
Yes, it wasn't the only way that he could have made that happen. And I don't know if it was the most effective, but he had honed his ability to do that over the course of a long career. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the way that he did things. Now, the third aspect of humility from an academic standpoint is to be teachable. You can recognize the truth in yourself and the truth in someone else. But if you are not teachable, and if you cannot adjust yourself based on those truths, then they mean nothing, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I would, like, if I'm a good therapist and someone else uh, makes mistakes, what does that mean for our relationship? It doesn't matter. Do I put them in a box? And now I've put them and a person who makes mistakes. That is true. They make mistakes. I'm a good therapist. I make mistakes. They make mistakes. They're a good therapist. Are
Mm-hmm.
they going to change? And am I going to be teachable when it comes to our relationship and allow myself to be malleable? And if not, then I've made myself pretty rigid, and I've always put them in that box. And I'm afraid that happened to me when I got fired. I got put into a box without recognizing the truth of me.
Hmm.
It sounds
Now you're
philosophical.
making me feel guilty for being, it is philosophical. You're making me feel bad for being angry at the people who fired me for being, like
I'd say then,
I'm
if
thinking about the people.
it would be being, um, you can't be mad at the truth. Well, you can be mad at the truth all you want, but recognize that it is the truth,
Yeah.
whatever truths
And
there were, and recognizing those and how is that going to change you is the teachable part.
yeah. Yeah. How do you integrate that truth into a better version of yourself?
Synthesize.
Yes. I didn't even have to say it that time.
How do you synthesize those truths into a new type of you?
That's right. We now have the title for this episode, Synthesizing Humility.
No, yeah, nice. Synthesizing humility.
Yeah.
Self-deprecation is
That's,
such a slippery road because I guess, well, like I said, it explains why someone else succeeded when I wanted to succeed so badly.
hmm.
And that also leads, I think, to more pride. Self-deprecation swings both ways, because if I gosh. So self-deprecation,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
it would.
We just won't touch that one.
Sorry, I've been reading a lot of Nietzsche lately, and so, like, it's just word salad. So now my thoughts are like just muddled, and I'm trying to get them out in conceptual understanding.
Why are you reading Nietzsche? I mean, like, I read Nietzsche for my master's program too. I'm just surprised.
Oh, because I realized I'd never read it, so I'm reading Beyond Good and Evil. So I'm just trying to get
Hmm.
educated. Anyway, um, that's why it's hard for me to think clearly, because it's all just words that mean concepts. In self-deprecation,
That's all words, Pete.
I'm going to school.
Me am smart.
Me am
This is why you're a
smart.
pirate. I don't need to learn. I just steal things. Yar.
um, shoot. Self-deprecation. Self-deprecation will
Yes.
explain why I'm a dirtbag, and in relation to you, you are now immediately and infinitely at a higher level or status or power than I am, and it explains why I am now in the dismal depths of worthlessness. However,
Mm.
if I then succeed at anything and you have not, that means that now I've been spun up to uh, an elevated status, and you are now below me. I think self-deprecation would then lead to more pride, because I have to recover from my feelings of worthlessness. Well, how do I do that? I do that through accomplishments, capability.
What's interesting about that is, like, you said that self-deprecation leads to more pride. My first thought hearing you say, I was like, oh, it feels like self-deprecation means I don't have to there's an excuse for why I'm here. It's not my fault, so I don't have to try to be better. This is just the way I am. I'm a piece of garbage. Of course you did better. Well, screw you, pal. I'm glad the universe likes you more than me, but like if I had what you had, of course I'd be up there.
Oh yeah,
But
there's
what
that
you're really saying is
reverse
like I'm
prejudice kind of thing.
exactly. Essentially what you're saying is me being here isn't my fault, therefore I don't need to try and fix it because I can't. Which bothers me.
Ooh, and it's different when you say I can't. That sounds, it could be either be like personal failings. I can't because I am this way, or I can't because the system or my environment is this way. You could just say because my family sucks. No wonder I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. That's why I'll never become a millionaire. Is you had everything
Yeah.
given to you. It's like, what? Why are you looking at me? Like, it's because that self-deprecation as the antithesis of humility looks at
A
everyone
fine line
else.
we got to walk here though, and that fine line is that that kind of is true to an extent, right? There are systems in place that make it easier for people who are born
Oh
into
yeah,
success.
yeah,
They can more easily access their own personal success. And like, I don't want to make it sound like we're saying, well, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and,
yeah.
ignore hundreds of years of, of systems put in place to like
Well,
keep
if
people
you've,
down.
oh my gosh, so I just finished a book called The Power of Concentration by Theron Dumont. It was a pseudonym for William Atkinson, but he
Mm,
Alexander or Theron Dumont in Power of Concentration was he wrote it in 1918 as part of the new thought wave of thinking. It was really
mm,
interesting, but they were trying to in the new thought wave was trying to blend mindfulness and this understanding of psychology in with like how does it fit into the schema of how they understood things back in the early 1900s. When you sit and you concentrate, we know is mindfulness, but then they're talking about the force, the nerve force that courses through your body, and your
mm.
hand is made up of like a million tiny minds, and when you clasp hands it connects with another person's million minds in their hands, and you come together as two men. It was like, what the heck? It was really out there. Yeah, but part of the book was also very pull yourself up by your bootstraps, saying things like every man who succeeded deserves it because of the power of his mind, and he was able to do things. And I was like, oh gosh, like okay,
Mm. Every
sometimes.
man.
Yeah, exactly. It was like almost a religious text with how dogmatic the power of concentration was. But it was a very interesting
Mm.
read because it was very early on understanding psychology kind of thing. Anyway,
Interesting.
the point is your circumstances do build up a lot of things around your life. And one of the things they impact is your ability to see the truth in yourself and the truth in other people, I
Mm.
think. So you can be in a minority group and continually hit your head against the brick wall of systematic oppression and just
Which
can't
is,
get that
yeah.
permit from the city council to open a business. You just can't get it for some reason and you don't know why, or it's taking too long, or whatever it is, and
Hmm.
you just can't do it, which I've seen happen. And there's no good reason why it's not happening.
Lots
Um,
of bad ones though.
yeah, yeah, lots of bad businesses. So,
No, lots of bad reasons.
oh yeah, lots of bad reasons. So in any case, I think your system does define a lot about your success, but it also defines part of your perception.
Sure.
And we're talking about humility as a perception. Like, are you
Yeah.
letting the system change your perceptions?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So we have a couple other notes here that you wrote that I want to make sure you have a chance to access.
Oh, okay. Um,
Specifically, you mentioned Jihad's episode.
oh, yeah. Well, I was wondering about having a conversation around humility in leadership, but I think we
Hmm.
kind of hit on that when it comes to seeing the truth in yourself and others. When we talked about being fired from previous jobs, what that would look like in terms of a leader who is humble. Um,
Sure.
recognizing that I'm in a position of power in this administrative relationship. So I understand it's pretty scary. They would say something like, "Okay, I want you first to know that I'm concerned. Um, I'm I'm your boss, and I have to look out for the good of the agency. So my concerns are with the liability that the agency has with your actions. But I'm also concerned about you because I know you could be a good therapist if you don't make mistakes like this." And so
Hmm.
recognizing the truth of your power, like my responsibilities, and also your responsibilities and what you can do. And then say, I want to understand what happened. Are you teachable? That's humility. My truth, your truth, and then teachable. My power, your power, whatever you want to call it. So I think we did hit on that a little bit when it comes to power in leadership or humility in leadership, what that would look like.
Mm.
The other note that I wanted to touch on was being powerless is not humility. We talked about that. And then some research that I found was not tied to humility, but more or less power and status. Lower ranking individuals adapt their emotional expressions to the social context, whereas higher ranking individuals express their feelings more freely. That means they measure status somehow. I actually didn't see how they measured social status, but those with lower social status are more adaptable to their environments, and higher status people make the environment adapt to them.
Huh.
Or they should say they express their emotions more freely, meaning they didn't really care about the read the room kind of situation. If you've ever
Interesting.
seen that interview with Jim Carrey, who was on a late night show, and he said ever since he got rich, he finds out he laughs different, and now it's
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Ah!
look at this guy, very like
Yeah.
explosive, take control of the room kind of laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's interesting. And, I would be willing to bet that a lot of, certainly my experience has been that the more high powered people that I've met would say that they're high powered because they make the world adapt to them,
mm-hmm.
which might partly be true. I think it ignores some other characteristics, which I think speaks to the danger of being reductionistic in any of this. Like, if I have humility, everything's going to be okay. No, acknowledging the truth doesn't make it any easier to swallow. It just means that you know what you're doing when you're swallowing it.
Yeah,
Being high status and expressing things like, fine, you adjust to me. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people I think people tend to fall in line with people who assertively say, this is how it's going to be. And people going, oh, okay, great. Well, here we go then, I guess.
yeah.
Um, they're
And
fortunate in that they're intelligent and their ideas are functional. You don't have to look too far to see examples of people who are very confident in who they are and what is the right or wrong thing to do, and who are just like destroying everything they touch.
well, in any case, being
Not going to say anything about politics.
no, we're talking about confidence, and confidence, humility is another discussion. But in basically, I think people gravitate towards people who are confident, and
Yeah.
I also gravitate towards people who are humble, because
Mm.
the more humble you are, the more you recognize the deeper truth in yourself and in others, and that type of awareness is so useful.
Yeah,
That
and it's
humility.
it's enticing. Like it makes you. I think being around truly humble people makes you want to be more humble yourself. It's a very like
Mm-hmm.
recursive, self-aggrandizing in a good way thing. We're like, oh, you're humble, I want to be humble. Well, now we're both humble. Now, what can we do now that we're looking at the truth? And ba-do.
And that comes up in so many ways. We've been talking about high status people and stuff, but I remember talking to a farmer in Idaho, and we had just moved. Where were we? We had just gotten out of school. We went from Washington,
Probably
Idaho.
Idaho, if I had to guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're in Idaho talking to an old farmer, and he's a grizzled old guy, but he asked where we were from, and we had come from out of state. And naturally, the people in Idaho they tend to, the natural reaction is like, oh, you're one of those. And this guy was just, it didn't phase him at all. It was like water off a duck's back. It was just like, oh, and he
Mm,
asked about it, and I asked about where he was from, and he had worked so hard, and he had this full life of farming, and he's kind of hunched over and skinny and wore jeans and just like wrinkled skin. And I was like, I instantly want to know everything about your life.
mm,
I I want to hear about all the farming that you did. And I don't know what it was that made it so attractive, but when he asked me where I was from, and he was like, oh, and he asked a few questions, asked where he was from, and he just talked about this depth of life. And it was so interesting. So interesting.
yeah,
But yeah,
I love it.
I think it was part of it was his humility, and part of it was his status as well. I knew that he had
Yeah,
status as a farmer. Anyway,
yeah, and he had earned that status. Like
yeah,
humbly speaking, you don't look like that if you haven't put the work in.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Anyway, humility. It's really important.
Yeah, you should do it. You should be humble.
Well, Taylor had this great idea. Actually, we had a recommendation from our good friend Jeff Barlow the author of this painting behind me, this watercolor.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
was, we suggest an actionable item for listeners here at the end. It's a little Easter egg. If you've made it this far, what are we, an hour and 5 minutes in? If you made it this
If you've
far,
made it this far,
you deserve homework.
just make this more of a miserable experience for you. We'll be checking answers next week.
No, that would be cool. So the question is, how do you practice humility?
That's a great question. So maybe the answer to that is a fun exercise for you might be, you, dear listener, all four of you, since we lost one because my screaming fit a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
One of the ways you practice humility is name 5 things about yourself that are great and 5 things about yourself that are not great.
Ooh, that'd be good. And not to self-deprecate over the things that are not great. You look at those things and say they are what they are. Am I going to work on them? No, they don't
Yeah,
impact my life that much. Then they just are. Yeah.
just accept them or choose what to do with them, but look at them honestly, and that honesty in the examination will be the humility. And I would imagine that a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, maybe, I don't know. Let me rephrase this. Some people might have a hard time naming 5 things about themselves that are good. And I'm not talking like, oh, I know how to make a bed well. I'm talking like things you're proud of. List
Yeah.
things about yourself that you're like, if I had to show somebody my actual value as a human being, I'm really good at this. Like, I had a client who actually may hear me say this. She used to practice her calligraphy, and
Oh, yeah.
she does it really well. And she has an Instagram page that she does it on, and I've seen some of her videos, and she writes very well. She actually sent me a very lovely Christmas card this year, and I got it. I was like, oh, I know who this is from, because
Oh,
the writing is amazing.
that's awesome.
But like,
That's
that's
really
something she
good.
can be proud of. Does that mean she has more value than somebody who can't do it? No, of course not. But it is something she's proud of. She also painted her nails extremely well. Her fashion sense with her nails and her clothing, always impeccable. These are things to be proud of, right? Like, you don't have to be talking about like, oh, I cured cancer.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if you
That'd
did.
be interesting though to say like my ability to write in calligraphy is valuable. Someone could pay me to write their wedding announcements, and
Mm-hmm.
and yet that doesn't make me a more valuable person. That is a
Yeah.
valuable skill, but it doesn't make me more valuable. Those
Yeah.
two
It
things
might
are
make you
very
more
different.
valuable in the context of writing those things, right? Like, if when it comes to writing stuff, if I have to write something that looks good, I'm going to defer to her
Yeah.
because she
Yeah.
does it really well. That doesn't threaten me, and it doesn't take away from her that I'm not threatened. It just means that she has this talent. Great. Live it up, dude.
Good honor. So these things that you write
Yeah.
down, 5 things good about you, not things that you think make you a more valuable person, but something you're proud of that by itself is valuable. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't say, I
And
am
then,
more valuable because of these things. You just say, these are valuable things. I'm happy that I have them.
yeah. And then 5 things that you recognize that you're not proud of, like, not necessarily not proud of, but like things that you're like, these are things I'm working on, things that I could do
Hmm.
better, things that I'm not happy that exist. Just own them,
Ooh,
write them down, own them, humbly look at them, go, these things about me are true.
I don't want to do this. But I will. I'll do it. I'll do it just for the sake of solidarity.
That's right. And make sure that Jeff doesn't reach out to you like, Pete,
Pete, yeah.
you didn't do this.
I was thinking
This
of
is,
saying like I'm definitely not going to do this, but I know Jeff listens, so it's like crap. All right, I'll do
yeah,
it. I won't like it.
dang it. Maybe how about this, Pete, to keep you and I accountable, you and I can do this and share it with each other.
Oh
And
yeah,
then we
good
don't have to
idea.
tell anyone else, but
Good idea. And
accountability.
anyone else who does it, if you're willing to share or want to talk about if it was fun or difficult or meaningful,
Let us know.
emotionalmenpc@gmail.com. Yep,
Yeah, we'll happily
emotionalmenpc@gmail.com.
read all about your inner workings.
Yikes. We won't share it on the
Yes.
podcast if you don't want us to. Don't worry. If you don't want us to, we're not going to blast that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be a terrible idea to be like, oh, you sent us an email. We're going to say everyone. No,
Yeah.
no.
No. All right.
Well, we did it, Pete.
Yeah, thanks for talking,
Whew.
Taylor.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was semi-coherent and I
Yeah,
wasn't hacking a lung up into the microphone. I think I
that's
muted
right.
it most times.
I think those shots of NyQuil are really helping you out.
Oh man, NyQuil has been my best friend the last couple nights.
Yeah. My son was sick over the weekend. Sorry, this isn't for the podcast, but my son was sick over the weekend. And so we gave him some NyQuil for the first time in his life. And I'm sitting there reading a book to him, and
Oh,
he's he's laying on his pillow. His eyes are half closed, and he goes, "Dad." I'm like, what is it,
is
buddy?
this
He's like,
Kelso?
no, Leo. He's
Yeah.
he's 11. And
Mm.
he goes, that medicine you gave me really works. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But if you need to go to sleep, I close the book and look at him, and he has one eye completely closed and one half shut. And he points to the closed eye, and he's like, I can't open this eye. And I'm like, okay, you should just go to sleep.
Yeah. Love it.
Good feelings all around.
Yes. All right, Pete. Well, lovely talking.
Hey, see you, Taylor. Love you.